Okay. Then mawuyela le then kuzobadala.
Asabuyeli.
Asabuyeli.
So you're gonna be the site.
The other way around.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm gonna get this is what triple, huh? Yeah. Cause mumishi. And he has good Twitter with Bayenza. Twitter's quick, eh? Says a change of year. I'm facing what? Arrival.
Oh, SABC. Hey.
Yeah, just remove the banner.
Ela, fera. Sharp. Ah, sharp.
Okay.
How many years have you been doing this now?
Oh, man.
Yeah?
5 years.
5 years.
Good to see you too, yeah. Okay, Joseph, what do you Elijah, I must just look at your face and know what is the message.
Not on air.
Yeah.
Is this fine? Okay. One's cut, no? 5. 1, 4. What time in Minnesota? Yeah?
Far from home.
Okay. Oh, okay, then you're gonna bring him. Okay. Okay. person who's just walked past. As you can see, the banners actually here standing in the background. These banners are the banners from the sponsors, and 21 top performers of the year 2017 will be awarded and be given prizes today. And we saw that the prizes amounting to plus minus 3 million rands. The prizes also include laptops from the various sponsors that are part of today's event. I'm just going to bring in the spokesperson of the Basic Education Department, Elijah Mhlango, who joins us now. Quite an exciting moment. It's this moment that most people look forward to, the build-up of this moment in terms of what the announcement is going to be, what the result is going to be. And we were speaking to you earlier on, and you were saying that you've been doing this for 5 years, but the excitement never stops, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, you work so hard throughout the whole year, and you go through examinations, and you go through marking and capturing of the data and processing of such and preparing it into a speech which the minister will deliver, unveiling the results in terms of the national average as well as the performance of provinces. It's not an easy thing. You don't sleep until it's all done. That's why to us this day comes as a huge relief. We're just waiting for her to deliver the speech so we can go and sleep.
But also the pupils, the plus minus 800,000 pupils who are part of these exams, who are sitting down, including the part-time pupils as well.
Absolutely. It's a huge number, and it means that as a system we need to make sure that in all the 6,800 centers, each and every candidate will get their correct question paper and answer sheet at the right time every day for a month, which means the duration of the examinations, there shouldn't be any errors. And it's something that maybe, you know, we take for granted, but it's a massive job, because after the process has been completed, we collect from them about 10 million answer sheets, which must then be processed into results. So it's a big job, but it's something that we've been able to do. And in 2017, we are grateful that we've been able to do it without any glitches whatsoever. There wasn't any leakages of question papers, and there wasn't any incidents of group copying reported anywhere, except for a few incidents of community protests which disrupted exams here and there. But even in those cases, we were able to relocate those candidates to write in other centers without compromising them. So we are happy that 2017 has been a great year, and we hope the results will reflect the same.
Speaking about incident-free, Umalusi also gave the department a thumbs up. I'd like you to take us back to the preparations that were put in place to make sure that you don't have another incident that took place like 2 years ago where the question papers were being leaked. I think Limpopo was also involved in something like that.
Yes, Limpopo became a problem in 2015 and 16, and we had to move into the province and try understand what it is that was taking place there. We conducted our investigations, and we established that it was perhaps the amount of time that these papers were stored in centers around provinces, and that duration allowed people to become naughty and sell those papers. And we could see that some of them were distributed via WhatsApp, and others were sold in different ways. And we had to understand what it is that we needed to do. And we then cut down the number of days that the papers were stored at different centers in the district offices and elsewhere. And that has helped. But we also introduced something called just-in-time printing, which means we're printing much closer to the time of writing, also reducing the length of time the paper would be stored somewhere before the writing could take place. So that has helped a lot because, as you know, there were no leaks. But also, we believe the commitment of our officials in the education system also played a big part, but also the candidates themselves, because group copying is something that they do among themselves, perhaps with the assistance of a teacher or a principal somewhere. But in 2017, we didn't see any of those because we increased our monitoring as well. So all of those things assisted. So we believe that if we were to intensify such interventions in 2018, we are likely to see a similar scenario. Our hope is that it will remain the same into the future.
Just quickly, let's go back to 2 years ago, where after those leakages took place. Of course, it is a criminal charge, a criminal case rather. Would the department be able to state at this point whether they have been able to criminally convict anyone who has been found guilty of leaking these question papers?
Not yet. Investigations are still underway. We'll remember that we invited the Hawks to assist us with the investigations. They gathered evidence. They have such evidence, and they are making it part of their investigation. The matter is in court, and for those individuals who were involved and not part of the Hawks investigation, we are still conducting hearings, and we need to conclude those hearings as quickly as possible, because we don't want this lingering for too long. Because it also means that some people still don't have their results from a year or two ago as a result of such transgressions. So it's something that we don't want to see happen. So we are happy that in 2018 we don't have anything overlapping from 2017. So we're happy that this year will start from a clean slate without any issues from the immediate past year. So those issues of 2015 and 16, those are still being dealt with, but we want to warn people that if you do something like this, we'll come down very hard on you, and it's going to be very painful, because there are still people who don't have their results and they can't progress in life because of those reasons.
Let's speak about the role of parents when it comes to matriculants, and what role they can play in ensuring that their children live up to expectations, but also adhere to the rules and regulations that govern how exams are conducted.
Well, it's support. Support is very important. I think as a parent, you need to take active interest in the life of your children's education. If you do that, then they will do the right thing as well. They need to know that they're being checked, they're being monitored. If you are invited to a school, sometimes you don't even need an invitation. If you feel you need to know how your children is performing, go to the school, maybe at least once a quarter, which means 4 times a year, outside the stated, the set meetings that are supposed to happen in school. Go there, talk to them, find out what's happening. If your child sees that you come to school to ask about his or her performance, they will take themselves and their education very seriously as well. So support is very important. Make sure that you support them. Don't put them under pressure. Rather create a conducive environment where they will be able to do their work. If you can do that, you will see you will go a long way, and the performance of your child will also improve.
But also parents as well, they make up the communities that we live in. And as you've mentioned early on, the slight incident that took place in terms of parents who are protesting, blocking kids from writing their prelims as well. What role do you think community leaders should be playing, or even political figures in this case?
There's a huge role that they can play, because with every community protest, there's a leader. And that leader lives in that community. And whenever there's a protest that will disrupt education, immediately the children of that village or that township or that city or that suburb are going to be affected. So we need to think about that and the impact on performance, because it tends to impact on them negatively, particularly psychologically as well as academically, because if you are losing learning and teaching time, it's very difficult to recover, always very difficult. We have 97 days for schooling in a year. If you lose one already, revision time is affected, assessment time is affected, teaching time is affected, and that affects curriculum coverage. If they don't finish, then clearly chances of them passing are very slim. So we urge our members of community that if there is a protest that you want to stage, make sure that it's far away from school, it takes a different format which will not interfere with learning and teaching, and that maybe, go stage a sit-in the place where you feel someone needs to listen to you, but don't do it at a school, near school, because it's not good for your children. And in fact, think about what you're teaching our children. If disruption is going to be used for communicating, then they will do the same when they grow up.
But not only the disruption, but the destruction of property as well, and the amount that it takes to replace those structures.
That's even worse, because if you talk about Vuan, for example, those schools there have still not been fixed, because remember, this issue comes from 2016. In 2017, when we wanted to start fixing the schools, there was another shutdown again, which meant that we needed to stop whatever we're doing, and it affects planning. And those kids there are exposed to light, they're exposed to wind, they're exposed to the rain, all the elements, and that's not good for them. Because the environment there is not conducive for learning and teaching. Our teachers cannot teach under such circumstances, and for young kids in primary schools, they become very sick, and we don't want that. So we really urge people to think about the impact of what you're doing, the impact of your actions. Will it really give you the results that you need? If the answer is no, then don't do it, because now, every time when results come out, we have rushed in the past 2 years to look at how the schools in Vuan have performed, simply because of the length of the disruptions in that area. So it's something that should not be done. It has happened in other parts of the country as well, but it should be discouraged by everyone.
Well, certainly. Thank you so much. There you have it from Elijah Mhlanga speaking there about the results that we are expecting, but also quite importantly, the issues that have been facing the department with regards to these service delivery protests, as well as the destruction of property, millions and millions of rands that have to be redirected to help rebuild these schooling institutions. And as Elijah has just indicated, in some schools in Vuwani, they haven't been able to rebuild the schools completely, and the learning environment is not conducive for some of these people. Certainly something that government must be looking into. I know that the ANC, just ahead of its elective conference or its national conference, were discussing this issue and how do they deal with this issue heading forward and make sure that it doesn't take place again. Well, later on, later this evening, after the announcement, we'll be sitting down with a cadre of the ANC, and that is the minister herself, Mam Angie, and we'll be speaking more about the political policies that have been put in place, and as well as some other proposals. One of those proposals include that history must be a compulsory subject across all grades, across every standard. That means that every class must have history as a subject. That has still not implemented, but also that each school must have at least one indigenous language that's being taught. We'll definitely be dealing and discussing those issues with the minister after she makes that announcement. The announcement is expected to be made around about 6 o'clock. We'll be live on SABC 1 as well. Expect you in studio. Khona abantu abakhulumayo lana nje kune conversation nje hey yeah studio sikwenza la okay we go to studio okay we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it. Is it not? Okay. Yeah, that's on you.
To say that the proportion yeah. This is the 2017 class. You can see this is 1.1. And you can see the progression is quite sustained. The drop begins here. You see the drop of 900 plus. And then it goes down like that. It goes down. And then still 900 picks up 1 million here. And it's sustained and then drops here and up to here. Which means that compared to other cohorts of other years, it has maintained that progression, which is much more sustained than other cohorts. I must also indicate that the decrease is also accounted by the fact that learners go to TVET colleges as soon as they finish grade 9. But there are learners also who stay much longer than 12 years in the system. That's what accounts for, the drop in the actual number of learners who finish in grade 12 and those who entered through the system, which means our progression is much slower than it's expected to be. But the good thing is that this class, 2/3 of this class finished on time, finished within 12 years, which means that the system is improving. We do accept that part of what causes the delay or part of what prolongs the progression of learners in the system is the quality of teaching as well. Historical trends, and this slide would be interesting for people who want to check whether we've made any progress. You can see that if you take a longitudinal view, that by 1970, 43,000 candidates completed Matric and met the requirements. In 2017, we're talking about 401,435 candidates, almost 10 times fold than then. Well, the performance in terms of 2011 to 2017, you can see that our highest peak was in 2013 at 78.2. We then dropped to 75.8 in 2014 when we introduced CAPS in grade 12. The second year of the introduction of CAPS, we further dropped to 70.7%. Then we started seeing the system picking up in 2016 at 72.5, and the minister will tell us where we are in 2017 in a few minutes' time. The overall national results, we just giving provincial performance in terms of bachelor's, diplomas. If you are very good in arithmetic, you can add them together. It will give you the exact percentage that the minister is going to read later this evening. Is there anyone who's worked out the figure? What's the percentage? I've given you part of the answer. Any answer? Fill in the missing word. Okay. Again, bachelor passes. Our highest peak was in 2013 again, and then we dropped 2013 from 30.6, dropped to 28.3, and then further to 25.8, and then we started picking up last year 26.6. And I'm sure, having given you the slide before this one, you can work out the percentage for this year. The bachelors are there. You just work out the percentage for this year. These are the actual numbers. Again, the biggest number of bachelors that we had were in 2013, 171,755. And then we dropped to 150,752, and then picked up at 166,263. And then we dropped to 162,374. Now, we've given you the actual figures for 2017. The highest number of bachelors comes from KZN, which is 35,687, followed by Gauteng at 35,012. This is 2017 figures.
Stand by, Eldon.
Yeah, just give me a second. Yeah.
The graph showing the same figures that I've just, percentage of bachelors per province from 2016 up to 2017. Types of passes per quintile. The quintile system is the poverty ranking of our system. Quintile 1 up to 3 are your poorest schools. Quintile 4 to 5 are the affluent schools. Public schools that you would find in Sandton, in Johannesburg, in the CBD of Pretoria. Those are your quintile 4. You find some of these in the townships that are well developed, where there's electricity, where there's running water. That's how you do the poverty ranking of your schools. If there's less development, income levels are very low, then you feature among quintile 1 to 3. And the point that we are making here is that there's been a geometric improvement comparing quintile 1 to 3 to quintile 4 to 5 schools that obtain bachelors. You can see that in 2016, quintile 1 to 3 accounted for 52% of bachelors, quintile 4 to 5 accounted for 48%. In 2017, quintile 1 to 3 accounts for 53% and 4 to 5 accounts for 47%. What does it mean? It means the pro-poor policies of government are beginning to make progress. You'll see as we continue how schools that historically were performing poorly are moving up the ladder. Right. Schools' performance within different percentage categories, in other words, 0 to 19.9, you can see there's a shift from the bottom. If you compare 2016 and 2017, there's a movement from the bottom up. If, for instance, you look at 0 to 19.9%, you had 196, which constitutes 2.9%. If you compare to 2017, that has been reduced to 109, which is 1.6%. And the story goes on. You go to the next block, that's the same thing. 20 to 39.9, it's moving up. The graph is moving towards the right. If you look at 60 to 79.9, the same thing continues. The increase goes to the right, and there's a decrease on the left, which tells you about where the system is improving. The system is experiencing more improvement from the bottom up instead of from top to bottom. And of course, if you look at 80 to 100%, again, there's an improvement in 2017. 0%, we've halved the number of schools that were at 0% from 18 to 9. And of course, we have dropped in 100%.
Well, what you're seeing on the screen right now is the technical report is being delivered just ahead of the announcement that will be made by the Minister of Basic Education, Mam Angie, later on this evening, around about 6 o'clock. Of course, we will be carrying the results announcement live on SABC 1 as well as on the SABC News channel, channel 404. We're also live on our digital platform, so you can check out this, or follow rather, the proceedings on the SABC YouTube channel on YouTube, and follow what's currently unfolding in terms of the technical report, as well as the interviews that we'll be giving you throughout the evening heading in to that announcement, and also the aftermath of that. What are some of the big things that we should be focusing on when that announcement is being made? And just heard now from that technical report that was given right now that there seems to be an improvement in the quintile 1 to quintile 3. These are schools, these are no-fee schools, so there seems to have have been an improvement on that. But just quickly to speak about more of the technicalities around the Matric results, we are now joined by our very own researcher here at the SABC, Thandeka Mabone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I was saying earlier on to Elijah, it is an exciting moment, and remember last year it was an exciting moment as well, isn't it?
It was, it definitely was. It reminds you when you were in grade 12 yourself, you know. And we were talking earlier that the actual curriculums have changed a lot. Remember that we are coming from OBE, and in that sector or in that curriculum, most of the work was actually being done in groups, you know, and homeworks were more. But now we moved to NCS, you know, which was a later one. That was phased out as well, because we are seeing now that this matriculants that have set for the examinations in 2017 are actually under caps.
Let's speak about that transition, moving on from OBE, because I was saying to you earlier on as well that I remember the teachers at the time were complaining that they themselves as teachers have too much homework, and NCS seemed to have been the answer to that, but that was also phased out, bringing in caps. What are some of the slight differences between the three different systems?
The different curriculums is actually a progress. When the department and the system, education system as a whole is improving, they also tend to move away from different curriculums. They look at, for example, Finland, you know, countries that have best education systems in the world, and they look at their outputs as well. Elijah was talking about pills, you know, those are international comparisons. So since we are lagging behind as South Africa, they look at the models where actually the other countries in the same field, in the same GDP as ours, are actually progressing, and they copy their style.
And when you look at is it the NSA, the national assessment that happens yearly with the different groupings of the different grades, has that had any impact on the grade 12s, do you think?
You mean
this is, I think it starts with the grade 7s and the different grade groups.
You know, that has been stopped. It has been discontinued recently. It was actually a tool to check the problems at an earlier age. Remember that the system is divided from foundation phase, intermediate phase, and the FET phase. So what the department was trying to do was that they were trying to check the problems in the foundation phase. So as when they reach grade 12, you know, it's easier. For an example, the PILS report had said that the grade 4s cannot read to meaning, you know, which is a serious problem, because you're already in grade 4. That was supposed to be done a bit earlier, you know, so the department was actually trying with that. But the unions were against it, because there was no time, apparently, you know, and there was no money that has been, the whole project was not facilitated correctly. So that has been discontinued.
And just listening to Umalusi mentioning, as well as I think the minister also mentioned this, emphasizing that when you look at the National Senior Certificate, this is a 3-year course, and that should have been the emphasis throughout, that when a pupil becomes a grade 10 pupil, that they are now part of a system which is a 3-year course.
That is very much important, and people are not actually aware of that. You are seeing that people are not aware of that by them dropping from mathematics to mathematics literacy, dropping from physical science to easier subjects, because they feel that there's so much pressure. But really, the problem is actually with the basic education department, because at grade 9, they're supposed to be introducing what we call curriculum guidance, career guidance.
Career guidance,
you know, so as the kid, when they go into this 3-year course that you're talking about, they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly what they would like to do after Matric. But that is not done, and kids struggle when they get to grade 10, grade 11, and then they change subjects, which is not fine at all.
And also probably the pressure from parents, because your parents will make the argument and say that, no, you must take maths, no, you must take science, because it's seen to be one of those critical subjects that, no, you want to gloat about, and you want to tell your friends that, hey, my kid is doing mathematics. Well, back in our days, there was a mathematics higher grade. There's no more mathematics higher grade.
Now as mathematics literacy,
Yeah.
you know, which people are taking. But it's not. Parents should understand that it's not only the burden of the Department of Basic Education, they should take responsibility as well. Because when you are a parent, you can't be wanting to live your dreams through the child. Really, you had your chance. You know, you should be able to get, support the child, get exactly what they want to do, get their strong points as well. I mean, pupils are into music these days. Pupils, and they are successful there, you know, and so we can't be forcing this mathematics and science. Yes, it is important, but we must remember that we have soft skills, we have plumbing, you know, that is equally important, and we have critical skills in South Africa. I mean, basic higher education department had released a report about critical skills in South Africa. That has not disseminated enough, because people are supposed to know these are the critical skills and this is what I can do in order to guarantee myself a job, you know.
Let's speak about the decision that was also taken to condone pupils. We have pupils that have been condoned, and there's also this expectation that this time around this year we might see an improvement as well on grade 11 pupils who did not do well, but because of their age were then condoned to grade 12, and they might have seen improvements with regards to that.
Progressing learners has seen a lot of criticism in the society of South Africa in general, but it's actually not such a bad idea, because when you are 21 and you are only doing grade 10 or grade 11 or whatever, you're in the FET phase, that takes a strain from you as well, your confidence in the person that you are, you know. Now, progressing learners, we have seen last year that the minister had divided the results according to two, progress learners and without progress learners. And we've seen that they have taken the system down a bit. The percentages were down a bit when you're including the progress learners. But we're expecting something different this year, because remember, they've learned their lesson last year and they've supported them better this year, and we're expecting better results from them.
But even that decision, though, to have a matric result that includes progress learners and that includes the non-progress learners, why would the department want to do that? Why don't you just have a national results? Because even if you look at the full-time or part-time learners, I assume that they are also included in the overall national result?
Yes, definitely. Everyone should be included. But I suppose the minister was trying to explain to people in terms of what we would have achieved without the progress learners and what we have achieved with the progress learners. But I don't think it's a good move at all myself, because, as I'm saying, they set for the very same national senior certificate as everyone else, you know. But as I'm saying, this year we're expecting different results, because as a progress learner yourself, you would feel pressure, you know, and you are supposed to be assisted better at school, and the principals are supposed to support people better, you know, especially the progress learners.
Well, inside the main hall where the announcement is expected to be taking place, we still have the technical report that is still being delivered at this moment. I saw earlier on they were giving a technical report with regards to the different districts and how the different districts have performed countrywide, including the impact that those have had on the various provinces. Thandeka, let's quickly speak about, and this was a strange thing, my sister's was in grade 12. When was this? In 2016. Went to a parents' meeting, got to the parents' meeting, and then I was told that parents, there is now an option available to you where the kid can take a certain number of subjects this year and a certain number of subjects next year. Please explain that to me.
That is called modularization. It has been introduced by the department to assist the struggling learners. Remember that, Aldrin, we have people who will be A students all the time, but we have those who are lagging behind. What I commend the department on is that they are not only running with the A students, but they are taking the people who are struggling as well, and they're assisting them. So the modularization project is actually exactly that. So if you are struggling, it's not for everyone. So if you are struggling, you can take 3 subjects this year and 4 subjects later, or 4 subjects then and 3 subjects later.
And then in terms of the national results, how does that then impact the national results? Do you then exclude them? Do you then exclude those up until you have all 6 or 7 subjects?
No, definitely. We had said that the National Senior Certificate is a 3-year course, and it has 7 and more subjects. And there are additions as well. You have to pass 3 subjects with 30% and the other ones with 40%. You can't fail your home language. There are requirements, there are specific requirements. So you need to have completed those requirements. You need to have met all those requirements for you to be handed over the certificate. So if you're doing your 4 subjects this year, you can only get your certificate after you have finished all your subjects.
So does this mean that when the results are announced today or this evening, we might have students who completed their other 3 subjects probably last year? Would they be included in this year's main results that are announced?
Definitely, definitely they would have.
Well, this is something quite interesting. There's quite a number of technical I don't know, issues that the department has come up with and trying to really help students and make sure that all students benefit from this. Speaking about the 30% pass rate that you spoke about earlier on, from the research that you've done, do you think that this has benefited pupils? This has benefited the country at all?
As I said, the country obviously has A students. These are the top students that would have been hosted by the Minister of Basic Education this morning, and you will find 7 distinctions in their results. But we must remember that we have struggling learners, and we really cannot leave them behind. And those learners, the department have seen that they are struggling with some subjects while they're excelling in the others. So if you fail mathematics, for an example, and you're struggling with mathematics, then you will repeat grade 12 a number of times because of mathematics alone. You know, so the 30% benefits such people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it also means that a lot of people will be heading into higher education institutions that already feel like they're overflowing at this point.
That is another challenge. It's very interesting, Eldrin, actually, that you raised that question, because we must remember that President Jacob Zuma has announced the free higher education. And Higher Education South Africa has said that actually we were not consulted about this. You know, we don't know where the money is going to come from. We don't know how we're going to implement this. And you see statements such as from the leader of the EFF to say, you know what, go to universities, demand this free higher education. But we must remember that actually higher education institutions are filled to capacity. VEDS this morning released a statement to say we have received about 80,000 applications and we only have 34,000 spaces. Mm-hmm. So it's really a huge challenge, because the matriculants who are excited today and they will be getting their results tomorrow, mm-hmm, will after that knock in higher education institutions, and they will say there are no walk-ins. Yeah. And if you have not applied, unfortunately we cannot help you, which is so frustrating because some of them did not apply due to the financial sector.
Certainly something that we'll be watching closely. Thandeka, just before I let you go, a couple of years ago there was a point where we were told that pupils who start with the National Senior Certificate, if you go into grade 10 for instance, that you can go into an FET college. You don't have to be at a school, like let's say a secondary school, but you can go into an FET college. Is that still available? Is that option still available?
No, the option is not available. The minister was only proposing that. It was not put into paper. It was not a draft policy, because you know those things go to draft, mm-hmm, and then the public can comment, and then it is published.
From your observation, do you think that this would be something that helps benefit schools, help benefit FET colleges and even the higher education and training department?
It will actually benefit the rest of South Africa, because Aldrin, we have agricultural colleges that have been shut down, educational colleges, police colleges. We have many skills that have been, the institutions have been shut down, because at that point in time there were many of people coming out of those institutions and not getting employment. But right now, unfortunately, we are back to square one. We need those people. So if really you can get your certificate at grade 9 and go to an FET college and do a soft skill, what's wrong with that? Because at the end of the day, there is high unemployment rate. Look at how many graduates are unemployed. Even in Eastern Cape, they were protesting with their gowns. you know, I have a PhD and I cannot get employment. It's really, really bad. So if really that's an option, I don't see why not.
Well, it's really a sad sight to see every time on social media where you see a graduate, whether it be a master's or sometimes even a PhD, standing on the side of a road or an intersection with a placard that reads that I have a PhD and this person can't find employment. It's certainly an issue that government is facing at this moment, and how do you make sure that you fix it? And like Thandeka was saying, the issue around soft skills, the artisans and so forth, we've seen that many organizations and some companies have even relied on foreigners to provide these skills that South Africa is currently not churning out as much as they should be. Well, at the moment, people are still sitting and waiting for the Minister of Basic Education to make the announcement on the matric results. Has the matric results increased or not increased? That results will be announced at 6 o'clock. As I mentioned earlier on, it will be live on SABC 1 as well as on the SABC News channel 404. So you can indeed follow follow those proceedings as well as on our digital platform that is on the SABC YouTube channel. It's goodbye for now.
SABC will indicate when you need to come back and the doors will be closed. So thank you for your patience and your attention. All the best for the year.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that concludes the technical briefing. There's going to be a short break. I'm going to ask that everyone returns round about 5:30 because we would like everyone to be seated by 5:45 in preparation for the live broadcast. I do ask members of the media to stick to the first 2 rows where the reservation for media shows. And then you'll see that there are reservations for family members. Those are the family members of the learners that have been specially invited for tonight. So I'm going to ask other guests to please clear those lines as well so we can make sure that our family members can sit in those rows. Thank you very much.
Crying.